Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, YouTubes. Welcome to episode 4 of the LC rebuild. I'm going to probably not skim through stuff, but obviously I'm mindful about how many episodes this might take. So, cylinders are painted. They're just obviously just sat there just to get them out of the way because I need to go through the power valves. The power valves are they're looking suitably manky, so they're going to need a little bit of work, which will be today's job. But what I want to do is, I've already given it a blow over. As I say, I normally blow stuff over so I can see where the imperfections are. I gave it a quick rub and a blow over. So it is -2 here today. If you can see that, it's cold. In fact, it's bloody freezing. So, as I did before with the cylinders and the head, I've got a little box with a hole, heat gun, power. So, get it warmed up. I'm going to warm it before I even start rubbing it down because it's too cold to touch. I mean, everything's freezing. So, I've only used little thin rubber gloves. Don't want cold hands. So I'm going to warm that up, start rubbing it down, slap some paint on. The paint's indoors, nice and warm, and see where we get. And then I'm going to move on to the power valves and see what we can do with those. Back in a bit. Made a quick start on the power valves just to give them a clean up with a bit of emery and Scotch-Brite. Obviously you've got to avoid the bearing surfaces either end, and then clean the valves up best as you can. There's quite a bit of wear. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? A bit of wear on the end. That should be completely flat. And obviously as the valves rotate backwards and forwards, they wear. And they wear inside this union. This is the jointing link which links the, if you can imagine, you've got 2 cylinders, and obviously you've got the power valves, which would be more that way up, and then you've got the joining link that put the right way around, the joining link that lives in the middle, which connects. It's a bit tricky doing this one-handed. Let me just pop the camera down. Connects the valves. So obviously you've got a servo motor on one end, and it rotates them round. Basically that alters the height of the exhaust port effectively, so you get better bottom end, and then as it lifts you get better top end as it goes to full width of the port. But if you can see that, I mean these aren't, it's not properly tight, but that's me holding it tight. Can you see how much movement we got there? And that is with me holding that tight. So I think you can see in there, that's what we're playing with. Now I might dig out my chemical metal, obviously give that a good clean up, dig out my chemical metal, see if I can build it up a little bit, and then sit the valve in, see if we can get it square, because obviously as you can see, you know, that's not really doing a lot, is it? And then the other valve needs cleaning up. You can see the amount of carbon on that, and then the power valve bushes, and obviously the end cap, but a lot of these are really manky. So I'll save you the boring view of me cleaning these up, but I'll give them a clean, see how bad the bushes are, see how bad the valves are. As I say, this is never going to be a race motor. This is going to be a, you know, plodding around the lanes, having a bit of fun, local bike meets, the occasional trip. So it's not got to be absolutely perfect, because otherwise, as you know, just that assembly, if you get new valves, I mean you can get billet valves now, but that's hundreds of pounds worth just there. So we'll see how it is. If it's not serviceable, then we'll replace it. if it is serviceable and it will get the bike running and do many happy miles, then we'll run with it. Right, see how we get on. We're back, and obviously it's a little bit of a mess because I literally, if you remember the last clip you just seen, it was bloody freezing, so literally I did as much as I could till my hands got cold, and then I bailed. But I started cleaning the power valves up. I've checked the bushings out, and they were no good. There's a little bit too much wear in them, so purchased a new set of power valve bushes with the O-rings and the seals, so they'll get slapped in. Bit of a shout out to, if you can see that, Legend Motorcycles. I'm sure you can Google them or look for them on Facebook and legendmotorcycles.com. Obviously this isn't at all sponsored by them, but I've had a few bits off of them. I had a lot of bits for the GSXi 1100 rebuild that I did fairly recently, and all the bits I was very impressed with. They're all sort of like repro parts, but I had no issues with any of them. So yeah, if you're looking for bits, I think for the GSXi, I think I had indicators, I had mirrors. What else did I have? I had a few other bits, and yeah, they're all good. All good. So today's job is going to be finish cleaning those power valves, clean the cylinders up from the paint, and potentially look at chucking the valves in and then doing a little bit of work on the joining link, because it has got a bit of wearing. Those of you that know these will know that they wear. So I might see if I can build that up with a little bit of chemical metal, clean it back down, and see how we get on. Because obviously if I can save a few quid for a bike that isn't going to be this, we're not talking about a bike that's a daily runner to get you to work. This is a sunny weekend bike, and any repair like that will last years and years. Obviously if it doesn't work, it will be replaced, because at the same time we want it to be reliable. So if I'm not happy with the repair, then any parts that aren't good will get binned and we'll get new ones. But if I can repair it, then I will, because why not? You know, we live in a bit of a, this isn't a rant, but we live in a society where so much stuff gets chucked away that could be repaired, and I like fixing stuff, and if I can fix it reliably, then that's what I'm going to do. Cylinder head, started giving it a clean, started cleaning the old YPVS logo up. As you can see, bags are wet and dry. So I've got a few more bits to do. Oil pump is getting sent off. That's getting sent off for a refurb for a very reasonable price. So that'll be done. Guy's on holiday at the moment. As soon as he's back, I'll send it off, and he's going to see if he can squeeze it in, because obviously he knows that this is a rebuild in progress. A few other bits that are painted, power valve caps and stuff like that. Paint's all gone off. I've had the heat gun running on them, so I can then start cleaning the bits that need to be polished off on those. So let's crack on. I think first thing first, let's have a bit of a tidy, shall we? See you in a sec. So the plan with the power valves is going to be, what I might do is obviously assemble the valves into the cylinders. I've got some molybdenum disulfide grease, so I can use those on the valves and obviously make sure that everything's good. Can't find another retaining clip, so I have to buy a couple of those, I think. So I'm not going to worry too much about that, because obviously the cylinders are just going to be dropped on loosely, no pistons in. And then what I'm going to try and do is get my old favourite, the old Belzona 1221, mix some up, put a little bit on the link join, and then line the power valves up, because obviously I can pop my fingers into the exhaust port and rotate the valves so that they're both perfect and matching, and then let the bond set loosely and then disassemble the valves, so that obviously any loose cleaning up I can do afterwards, because that stuff sets like shit to a blanket. It's machinable, it's good stuff. So let's give it a go. If it doesn't work, then obviously we're looking at potentially new power valves and a new link, and that's going to be, well, probably the certainly the thick end of 200 quid, probably a little bit more than that, which obviously if we don't have to spend, we won't. Let's see how we get on though. If the time lapse worked, you'll have seen the valves going in at the speed of 1,000 gazelles. And the good news is, the new bushes, despite the old valves, there is zero play. There's a tiny, well, zero play, a tiny bit there, zero there. And obviously it's difficult to check that cap end. You can feel inside and there's no movement. So that's good news. I think the valves, as long as we can sort that centre link out, the valves will be good. As I say, this isn't a race motor, this is a fun motor. So the next thing to do, I'm going to drop the cylinders onto the cases. Obviously there's no pistons involved, so drop the cylinders onto the cases, and then unfortunately the plan was to nip the nuts up just to hold them nice and still, but the bolt kit that Simon got for the motor is an LC bolt kit, so obviously we're missing quite a lot of stuff, because the LC is obviously different cases, different fitting. The cylinders aren't bolted to the cases, etc, etc. You know LCs, guys, if you're watching this, so you'll know that a lot of the stuff is the same, but a lot of the crucial parts aren't. So I might have in a pot some old manky nuts, which I might just nip up, but I want to give these studs a clean with a die anyway before I bolt it back together. So that's the next job, and we all know how awkward these are to get in. So I have somewhere got the ball end driver kit, so let's pull that out, mix up some Belzona, and see how we get on. I was contemplating putting a little bit of plastic or something over the top of the bottom there, so that it doesn't stick to it, you know, a little bit of a plastic bag or what have you, but I don't know. Let's play it by ear. Right then, you'll find out in a sec. Cylinders are on, bit of Belzona, nipped it up. Let's take it apart and see what we got. I'm pretty sure it won't focus in, but I don't know if you can see that. You probably can't, but that has worked. What I did while it wasn't 100% hard is I took it apart very carefully and then used a very sharp Stanley blade to trim the excess. I'm going to let that bake off now, and yeah, that's job done. So the links now are nice and parallel, everything's good, and obviously what I did was lined up, you won't be able to see, but lined up the power valves to make sure that obviously they were spot on for height, so that they run together. So let's see how we get on, but that's good news. It's all looking promising. You might not be able to see it, but that's worked. I don't know if that will focus. We'll say focus, it's a fixed focus, but the bond has done exactly what I hoped it would do. and it's leveled out the worn parts. Before it baked off or hardened off fully, I took it apart carefully and then used a very sharp Stanley blade just to trim off the excess very carefully. So we'll let that harden, and then that can all go back together. But I'm happy about that. Obviously what I did was I lined the power valves up in the cylinders. You won't be able to see in there because it's dark, but they're all lined up to make sure everything's running nice. And I just sat the head on because it's starting to look like a motor. I mean, it needs good cleaning, it's a bit dusty and stuff like that, but it's starting to look good. So I haven't got the nuts for the cylinder, but we're getting there, slowly but surely. Afternoon all. It's been one of those days where I came out in the workshop to make a start on the LC. I completely forgot to do some videoing, so I've actually made a bit of progress. Obviously you can see cylinders are on. Oh no, so that's just sat on there loosely. Obviously pistons are in with the light hole on the bore, so that's all done. I'm trying to think what else I've done. Obviously power valves are in. They need the joining link to go into the centre, so I will do that. So obviously we can get those lined up nicely. Clutch cover, that's had a bit of paint, and the awful YPVS. I say awful, I mean the cover's alright, you know, it's of its time, isn't it? I spent quite a long time trying to get the score marks out, and they come out a little bit, but it's not fantastic, but it's not bad, you know, it is what it is. And obviously we got the head there, so I did go a little bit further than I meant to, obviously without videoing. So next step's going to be chuck the head on, get all that nipped up, and then I'm probably going to call it a day for today. So yeah, what you're seeing is one day's worth, but in, you know, about 2 minutes. So let's get the head on. I'll do a little bit of video with the head on, and then we'll make another start tomorrow because there's still a few bits that I want to get. So then let's see how we get on. That's it. Cylinder head is on, torqued up, in sequence. Yamaha are quite nice because they cast the sequence of the tightening for the head bolts actually in the head, so that's quite nice and easy. So a few things to do. Obviously connect up the water pipe, fit the reblocks, etc, etc. But it's starting to look like an engine. It's getting there. Obviously I can't fit the clutch cover because the oil pump's going off for a rebuild, and a slight increase in flow. There's a guy on one of the LC forums that sorts that out, so that's gone off to him. Well, it will be going off to him. I think he's away at the moment, but that'll be going off to him to get done. And then yeah, we get that cover on. Obviously you can see everything's in place, if you can see in there, if it focuses. Will it focus? Yeah, well, you know what I mean. So happy days. Tomorrow I think I'll probably finish bolting the ancillaries on the motor, see how far I can get with that. I might just pop the cover on just to kick it over a few times, but obviously I won't be able to run it up or anything like that, because well, it's a long way from running, but I might just stick it on there just to spin the motor over a few times. Obviously it spins if you rotate the clutch, but it'd be nice just to give it a kick, just to hear it pop through the plug holes, you know what I mean. Right then, let's see how we get on tomorrow. Today's job will be to try and make something of this box of bits. Try and turn this into some sort of fuel system. could be a challenge. It's not good, is it? As we can see, I do have a spare set of carbs, so I'm going to pull these apart. They do rattle as if the floats are free. That's a promising sign. And then once we've done that, we'll get them onto this. That's the plan. You will join me in, well, hopefully mere milliseconds, where we shall see how we got on. If the carb rebuild's interesting, I might do some footage. If not, they should appear right there. Ta-da! Well, not quite. I started putting the carbs apart and thought I'm going to leave it to another day because they are in such a state. So I went on to something else. What did I go into? Cleaning up the reed valve assemblies. They're the same as everything else really, just full of muck and crap. Had to get a bit of heat on these to soften them up, to get the intake equalizer pipe, crossover pipe, whatever you want to call it, to get that fitted. But other than that, obviously started making a little bit more work on. Put the rear coolant hose on, attach the thermostat housing with a brand new second-hand thermostat. Obviously these plugs are the wrong ones, they're just in there to stop crap falling in. Power valve cables are in. Power valve pulley isn't on yet though, so that needs doing. But then obviously I wanted to sort the wiring out for the motor and get that rigged up, and I wanted to get the tacho cable in. You'll know where that lives, down the back of the motor, so the carbs aren't going to go in until that comes along. However, the tacho cable is seized solid. I tried to get some lube down it and get it moving, but it just snapped. So new one in order. So I'm not going to put the carbs in until that's in. Obviously the clutch cable mounting point is in. But I then moved back to the electrics. They're worse than I thought. Everything's green and corroded. Broken wires, odd wires that go to bullet connectors. I've had to pull it apart again because obviously it was assembled, but unfortunately the electrics live behind the battery case, so that had to come back out again. Everything is going to have a good going over. If it works when I switch the ignition on first time, it will be a minor miracle, because I think we'll be chasing faults all over the place. But anyway, that's where it is at the moment. Join me tomorrow. Today's job, YouTubes. You probably noticed, I can't remember if I mentioned these in the last video because it's a few days ago. I fitted some nice rental bars rather than the chrome monstrosities that are on there. These are far more like an LC bend, for those of you that rode LCs back in the days. They're not far short at all. These are good bars actually. Nice set of rentals. They're not going to bend. These came around Morocco with me on another bike, on a Ducati Scrambler I had. So these have done some miles. They'll be good. I'm going to sort the electrics out, start working through those, and then if I get time, obviously I'm going to clear this bench off. If I get time, start on the carburetors, mixing and matching with this box of horrible bits. Yeah, right then. No time like the present. Very quickly, chucked a grip on some replica OEM grips. I've given the clutch mount and lever a bit of a paint and put all those together with new fastenings. Unfortunately, the clutch mount has got a stripped thread. It did already have a nut and bolt in. I know why now. Moved to the electrics. I've given everything a clean and connected it up, soldered a couple of loose joints, bodged the battery on, and ignition. The only thing we have working is, are we ready? You guessed it. Power valves. Power valve servo motors, to say, the only thing we have. Nothing else works. So let's delve in, see what we can get going. Some progress. still have power valves. And now if I put the lights on, we have the idiot lights, but we also have clock lights both sides, and we have a low beam. We don't have a tail light, we'll worry about that later. We don't have a headlight. However, if I set my multimeter to continuity, we have an earth. However, we also have an earth on both of the other inputs for high beam and low beam. So obviously we have a short somewhere, but I don't know what all this is wrapped up, and obviously it goes all the way back. It could be anywhere. Let's keep going, see what we come up with. Electrics update. The update is I hate electrics. However, if I could be asked to put that little mean thing that goes a few hours later, but you get the idea. Anyway, this battery is now fairly flat. It's on a float charger over there somewhere. It is charging, but now we have ignition on. You hear the power valve go. If I come around here, brake pedal, we have a brake light. If I move to side lights, click side lights on, we have clock lights, we have a side light front, we have a side light in the rear. It's all looking good so far, isn't it? If I put the headlights on, can you see that? High beam, low beam. If I do it from this side, we have high beam and low beam. If I switch the lights off, we have headlamp flash. It's all looking good, isn't it? Now then, let's move to this side. Indicator. The battery is flat as arses, but you get the idea. And then other side, indicator. They are flashing, believe you me, but the battery is very dead. Let's switch that off. Happy days. Horn won't work because the horn's in the box over there, but that's one less thing to worry about. Obviously no front brake yet because we don't have a front brake. I could short the cables out, but I'll worry about that another time. Let's see how we get on now then. Right, it's been a long day, and that'll be the end of part 4 of the LC rebuild. As I say, I was hoping to get it running in this one because I didn't want to do too many videos, but as with any project, there's always more work that needs to be done than you realise. So the electrics are working. Haven't tested the horn, but everything else is good, so fingers crossed. Rental bars looking good, looking good. Top end of the motor's on. You won't be able to see it, but the power valve bush retainers arrived today, so they got put in as well. So if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and a like, subscribe, whatever. And I'll see you in part 5, where I will be rebuilding the carbs and I will hopefully be getting the motor running. The only thing that's going to slow it down is the oil pump, because obviously the oil pump needs to be fitted to the case before the case can go on. But what I might do is I might spend a £5 on a blanking plate, blank off the drive, pop the case on, run it on premix, get it started up, and then drain the oil down afterwards. That might be the easiest method to obviously get it tested and get it running. So see you on the next episode, and yes, I will have a tidy up. What a shit tip. I will have a tidy up. Catch you soon all. Stay safe.